G'day guys, welcome to my new episode on how to make an app with App Inventor for Android. This is. I'll obviously be showing you how to use Google App Inventor, or MIT App Inventor rather, as it's now known, and after I Google search it we can get into learning how to use Blocks Editor. Now you're going to have to do a slight bit of setup before you get to make apps, just for your computer. And I'll pre-warn you that this maker does not work on an iPad. I've tried it. It may work on other Java-enabled devices. I don't think it works on an Android device, but I haven't tried it, to be honest. And that's all I can tell you at the minute. I'll probably think of things later. First thing you're going to have to do is set up your computer for using an emulator, because the emulator is how you test and debug your apps, and there's plenty of bugs, don't you worry. You can run the apps through your Android phone if you have one, but I don't have one, so I'll use the emulator. Also, it's difficult to capture it and use a phone at the same time. So you will need Java for a start. Java 6, Java 7, doesn't matter, they all work. You will need the latest version of it though. And you will need to download a file from this web page here, which I will link in the description. And I have downloaded this before, so I'm going to stop that. But, pause. I can't stop it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And then once you've installed that, it will let you use the emulator. I can't think of the word correctly. Anyway, these are some phones that come in the package, the drivers for them that is. So you can use those without needing to install a driver manually, or you can do it yourself if you have a different phone. They're just a few other phones are tested to have worked, but I haven't been able to test any so far. And if you have some form of business firewall or something, it won't let you use your phone, as far as I can tell. It wouldn't let us use ours. At school, this is. Okay, the first app you can create, well, it has instructions for, is called Hello Purr, which basically is a click or press on the cat and it will purr. And you don't have to use a cat, you don't have to use a purring noise. We had cats that barked, we had Santas that went ow when you hit him. Doesn't really matter. It does have a PDF chapter here that you can view, but this is a very simple app. You won't need it, or shouldn't need it, especially if you're watching this video. Now you will need to download both the kitty picture and meow sound from here. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it, but just click on them. Now, a pre-warning, if you already have, well, if you have QuickTime installed, you'll need to right click on that, and it doesn't say it in here, but you basically have to download the something or other. But if I click on it, if you're using this, yeah, it's not gonna. Okay, you can save the video as in this, but that's just painful. I'm not a big fan on the saving stuff with Google Chrome here, and that's what I'm using. Oh, Opera doesn't work. I've tried it. I've had 2 goes at using or making this video with Opera, and it didn't work. Then I realized my mistake, because it's been a while since I used this computer to create applications. Now what we're going to do is open up a new tab. Now the instructions are easier to use if you have a separate device like a phone or an iPad, for instance, or an extra computer. To read the instructions off, it just means you don't have to be switching between tabs all the time, but it doesn't matter. And to use this stuff at MIT App Inventor, you will need a Google account. But before you ask, how do I get one of those, I can guarantee you that if you're commenting on my video, you have a Google account. And believe me, people have asked me about that before, and that's pretty much what I've said. Now I've conveniently pre-created a app called Kitty, which is basically what this is. I've already created this app. You can see these are all the ones I've done for school and a few other things. Most of them aren't complete. Now if you want to create a new one, you hit new. If you want to download all the projects and keep them backed up, you would click on download all projects. More actions is about sources and whatnot. I haven't used those before, so I'm going to go into the Kitty app and have to click on it once, but if you use Internet Explorer, it's a lot slower. We use Internet Explorer at school and it's just a pain in the bottom. Okay, so you'll be greeted with something like this. Basically has your palette on the left, which has buttons, canvases, checkboxes, etc. Media, animation stuff, image sprites, which is helpful for games. Social stuff for Twitter, texting, etc. Sensors, accelerometer, orientation, all that stuff. These ones, which you will use a lot if you keep following my videos. Lego Mindstorm stuff, which I could tell you are very clever, but I don't know how to use them in this sense. They are very clever though. Other stuff, which is all sorts of different things, like barcode scanner, text-to-speech, web, which is probably for a web browser, and stuff that's not ready for prime time, which means it's not obviously ready to be used in an app yet. Although this is still in beta, so a lot of things aren't ready to be used yet that are included. Most things are a bit buggy. Okay, here you have your screen one. That's not exactly what will happen, or what will be viewed. It's just to create the interface, basically. You'll have your screens here. You can add screens if you wish and remove them. Well, you can't remove. You got to have at least one screen. And if you keep adding screens, you can't switch between them via a button in this case because it's still in beta. It won't let you. That's just something they've done. I'm not sure why. Can't be that hard to program that. Here we have components. When I add stuff from the palette, it will come under here. And properties. If I wanted to change, say, the background color, I could change it to any of these things. These are the only colors it has at the moment, by the way. You can't put in the binary code for colors at the minute. Excuse me. Unfortunately, but that doesn't matter. I can choose the background image, and I don't need to do that in this case because I don't have one. But if I did, I could use that icon. I'm not exactly sure what that does, but I haven't fiddled with it, so I'm not sure I could tell you. Now, screen orientation is all sorts of things. I use unspecified just because if you rotate the screen, then it works it out for itself. It's not that stupid. Scrollable, pretty obvious. Title. Now you can call this whatever you like, and that will be what comes up here. But you can't rename the screen as itself, just for some reason that they've chosen. It will always be screen 1, screen 2, screen 3, etc. But I can rename this and it'll change that here, but not here, if that makes sense. Version code, I assume that has something to do with copyright and betas and update if you actually have something fancy that you want to show, but I haven't fiddled with that either. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is add some media. Choose File. And where are we? Nowhere in particular. Go into Pictures, where I've saved this stuff. And you will be greeted with a picture, well, you will have downloaded, or should have downloaded, a picture. I'm using this kitty.png file, which I downloaded from here. And I don't need this anymore because I know what I'm doing, but I'll leave it there. And I also downloaded, wow, Google Chrome's much nicer than Internet Explorer, but most people could have told you that. I recommend it. It's free, it's easy to use, looks prettier, it's omnibar. That's about all I need to tell you. Safari, nah. Google Opera is nice, it's fast, it's slightly unreliable because it's not a complete program. Well, it is, and they're releasing it as it, but full of bugs. Although I do like it, it's a lot faster and it's good for managing web pages. Anyway, what else do I need to know? Okay, so what we're going to do now is open the blocks editor. Now the blocks editor will make you download a Java file, which I'm going to keep, and I'm going to click on because I'm in this, it will run it, and it'll come up with this. I only have Java 6 on here because I'm awesome like that. I don't need Java 7 because I don't really run bucket servers or anything for Minecraft, or anything that involves Java 7 at the minute. But you could use Java 7 if you wanted, or didn't have any other option for that matter. And you'll get something like this. Now hopefully it's going to, be nice. If you have an issue, and this happens in Opera, this will keep saying loading initial project for ages and ages and ages, and it just won't switch to connect to device. Now from here, if you have your phone plugged in, your phone should list under here, unless it's not working properly. And I can create a new emulator if I need, and I'll show you more about this momentarily. Now what I'm going to do is add a button, and obviously a button is a button. Duh. Now I'm going to rename it to BTN Cat. And if you've seen my GameMaker video, or videos, you probably will know why, or if you're a coder for that matter, you'll probably know why I use BTN at the start of stuff. And I'll elaborate more on that in a minute. You can fiddle with the properties here if it's enabled. So if you can click the button, enable will be ticked. Font bold, that's just formatting stuff for the text. Font size, if you want text bigger, smaller, etc. Font typeface, what font you want it to be. I use default, which is sans serif, because it's the prettiest one they have here. I wish they had more, but they don't. Serif, monospace is like a notepad text. It's a bit ugly. Image, you can, and I'm going to do this in a second, but you can adjust the image of the background of the button if you need to. Text, if you want the button to say something, leave that blank if you don't, and I don't, so there we go. Text alignment, pretty self-explanatory. Text color, visible, yep. Width and height, I've set them to automatic, and I will in a minute, because as I choose the picture, thank you, the cat is staring at me now, lovely. It will automatically set it for what's in there, but you can set it to a certain amount of pixels, and if you use fill parent, as far as I know it only works for width unless you're using screen arrangement. Here in height, it will adjust it if you use fill parent for height, but otherwise it just leaves it as about 10 pixels or something in, well, height, I guess. And if I use fill parent there, it should, stretch to 300 pixels, or however wide that is. But I only want it that large at the minute. Now, I'm also going to create a sound, which is in media. And with that, you just click and drag everything in. Don't try to click on it because it won't work. Ugh, catching a cold or something. Okay, now I'm going to rename that to SND Cat. Now you can call it whatever you like, but I like to describe what I'm labeling it. And that's just got minimum intervals, so if you say have a trigger for the cat sound, it will stop. If you are spamming that trigger, it will only let the cat sound play at this many milliseconds, so it'll have to play for 500 milliseconds before it restarts itself, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, because I make no sense at all when I talk, which makes me wonder why I do YouTube, but who cares. And I've changed the source to meow.mp3, which is my media, which makes that meow sound, which you'll be very annoyed by the time I finish this video, no doubt. Okay, what else can we do? That's about it for now. I might put in a label, just to show you what labels are like. Labels are labels. They label things. And the shorthand for that is LBL. I'm going to call that label something. You can call it whatever you like. I'm just going to call it label title for now, because I can't think of a better name. and I'll adjust the text to pet the kitty, and I can fiddle with that, and you don't need that if you don't want it. It'll do the same thing. Width and height, yep, already covered that. Background color, now if I hit green, that's what it looks like, which I think is personally is a little bit ugly, but you know what, I'm a bit different to most people. It's just because of my HTML days last year. There I go again, coughing. That every bit of background color you do would stick out a mile, which wasn't very nice. Now, typeface, sans serif is default. Serif is the next one, which looks like Times New Roman actually, and monospace. Yep, you can work out what I'm using. Okay, so that's basically it as far as this goes for this app. It's nothing too fancy. Next, we have cool stuff. Now, basically, to do this, it's quite simple. If I want that when I press the cat, the sound plays, I just use a button cat.click thing, and you can put these wherever you like. It has no order. It ticks them all at the same rate, which is interesting, unless you have it in a particular order inside a block, but it's still microseconds. So while I'm doing this, I'll create an emulator, just because it takes a little while to set up, and that will sit there. It does that. Now, button cat.click obviously means that when I click the cat or press the cat, you do whatever's in this box here. Now, next I want to go soundcat and go soundcat.play, and hopefully that will drag in and it'll make a click noise, which is really annoying in a classroom full of students. And now when I click the cat, the sound will play. Now if you have a phone, this does obviously not work on an emulator, but you can vibrate the phone for a certain amount of milliseconds, and I'm going to put 100 in here, not 1100. 100. I don't touch type, obviously, and that will vibrate the phone for 100 milliseconds every time the cat is pressed. Now there's a few different things. You can pause the sound, resume the sound, stop the sound, minimum interval, set the minimum interval to a higher number if you need to, if people are spamming it, but you can do that from the, what's it called, I can't remember now, in the interface editor there, properties box, that's what I'm thinking of. Soundcat.source, you can change the source of the sound to something if you have multiple sounds, and component, that's for other stuff. Now screen 1 stuff, label title, which you will remember I created before. You can edit the text of the title, so what it says, the color of the text, whether it's visible or not, width of the text, the background color, the font size, pretty much anything you can play with in here as well as in there. So if certain thing happens, you can do pretty much anything you like. So obviously you have trigger events, which are these ones, and doers, well, I call them doers, or follow-ups. Basically, when this happens, do this, or if this happens, do this, if you like logic. And there is if blocks, in fact, in this, which is really cool. Okay, so obviously that's all your stuff to do with buttons. Basically you can adjust it not only here, and I have no definitions at the minute, because basic app. Here's our emulator. You can adjust anything that you can adjust in, what's it called, here in the properties tab, that's what I'm thinking of. You can adjust here with a click of a button, which is nice if you need something to change something. If a button is pressed, you want to change something, you can do that, which is cool. Okay, so I can connect to the emulator by clicking here, and as I said before, if your phone's in there, phone's connected, you'd connect to your phone, and it will display this yellow phone with an arrow for a little while until it connects to the phone, or emulator in this case. And that may take a little while. It's a bit slow and whatnot. The connection is not brilliant, but it works. So I'm just going to sit back and wait for that to connect. Hope it does sometime soon, because that'd be nice. Thanks. Well, it looks like the emulator's still booting up. That's funny. My computer doesn't like doing a million things at once, even though it's designed to. I'm sorry. Terrible of me, I know. Now, one limiting factor we've found with this blocks editor is the size of it. I can only put in so many blocks before I run out of room. But there's a quick way around it. This up arrow here, when clicked, is really cool. It will make it into an operator block, just like that. Or event handler, I think that is, actually. Now there's built-in things here. I can create a variable, a procedure with a result, name block, which is helpful for something. And I'm pretty sure that's a block, but I'm not certain. Runs the block associated with this attached. Yeah, I'm right. Now, text. I haven't played with that too much, but I'm sure you could if you need to. Now, lists. That's good, especially for, well, that's good for anything, especially things that need to progress via a list. Math. Yeah, guess what this is? Obviously, numbers, operator signs, square root, fractions, integers, set seed, all sorts of toys. That's still connecting, really? Oh no, it's going now. You're right. Logic, true, false, not, equals, and or. I haven't fiddled with that too much either. Now, if blocks and other stuff, control blocks, but the if ones are the main ones I've used. And that's other stuff there. Start values, close screens. And colors. I am not a color person, so I'm not going to fiddle with those. Okay. Okay, here we go. The emulator started now. When I click the cat, I'm spam clicking it, by the way. Literally, I'll put my microphone next to my mouse. That's the interval limiter there at 500 milliseconds, because sound is not much faster than that. So that's cool. That's the app, basically. I can put in one more thing if you'd like, but I won't be able to show it on this thing. I'm going to put in what's called an accelerometer, which your phone will automatically have in it. You can't test it with the emulator, because it's silly like that. So I will put in an accelerometer sensor. Try again. And I'm going to rename that to Axel Sen 1. I just don't like really long names. That's probably way too long anyway, but that works. Now, I'm going to set that to 600. Now, I cannot test this, but basically, if I open my blocks editor again, now this is updating to that live, in this case. Now, XL Sensor 1. When shaking, I want to do soundcat.play, and I can Control-C, Control-V that. And basically now, when it shakes, the cat sound will play. That's basically all for this app. I can show you one other cool feature of the blocks editor. is that if I click in here, like if you've been in these drawers here, it won't work. But if I click in here and start typing, it will find me the block I want. So if I want to create a variable, I don't know why I need it in this app, but if I wanted a variable, I can make it. Now I don't want the variable, so I'll put it in there. You can also hit the delete key or backspace key if you want to delete those, rather than drag it to there, because that's time consuming and awful. And that's just a couple of quick workarounds to do things fast. Anyway, that was this application, Kitty, and it took me not too long. It included the setup, and it was relatively easy to do. Now you might think, oh, boring, you can touch stuff, but there is so much you can do with this app maker. As you could see, yeah, what's downloading? Oh yes, I know what's downloading. Anyway, that's everything. I'm heading 1231 1 or 921, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.